in charge. You can study when, where and how you like, alongside your other commitments. You set your own study timetable. As an educational charity, our main aim is to support you throughout your course. Start by choosing the course you want to study, then enrol online or by phone. Our experienced and friendly course advice team are here to advise you. Remember, NEC is here to help you achieve your goals.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to one of our series of webinars from the National Extension College. You just had a little video there of who we are. I'm delighted, I'm so excited about the webinar we're delivering today, and you can see a number of people on the call with me. So I'm going to read out their names and introduce them. We have Jasmine Douali she's a policy assistant at Green Alliance, and we'll find out what that means as a policy assistant. And we have Lucy Pegg, who's political advisor from Green Alliance. And we're also delighted to be joined by Amanda Luxton, who's programme manager from Catch 22. And you'll have plenty of time to find out all about these organisations and these lovely people. So the webinar today, and why we've invited the Green Alliance and Catch 22 to join us, is regarding careers in the environmental sector. So this may be a phrase, the environmental sector and jobs in the environmental sector that you've heard about, or it could be a concept that's completely new to you and you're just thinking you're curious about what that means. So hopefully we'll meet that curiosity by the end of the session. So what we're going to do today, we're going to introduce you to the environmental sector and explore ways you can work towards a career in that field. And the National Extension College is hosting this because it may be you're somebody who's looking for a flexible way to study and looking for a change in career. So we can explain how you can do that with distance learning. With the Green Alliance and Catch 22, we'll explore the diversity of the sector and the transferable skills. And I'm sure that you're going to hear a lot about some exciting careers that you can have in the green sector. And as always, lots of opportunity to ask questions. So you can type those into the chat. Hopefully you can see the chat on your screen. And then Alice, who's in the background, will highlight those to us. And whoever is most appropriate will have a go at answering that. So if you've got any burning questions, you can type them in throughout. So don't worry, we'll have them there and we can look at them at the end. If it's something really sort of something top of mind, we'll try and answer it as we go through. But there is a sort of formal question and answer and a panel session at the end. So if you want, you can save up your questions throughout. So who's the National Extension College? Well, we're in our 60th birthday year, which is really great. And it's lovely to work for an education charity. We've been working with students to support flexible models of learning. And as a charity, we have a mission. We're very mission driven, which is about widening learning opportunities for learners who want flexible delivery. So one of the areas that we know works for our students is we are asynchronous. That means you can study at any time and at your own pace. So you can enroll at any point, and then you can study in the evenings during the time, a little bit of time you have perhaps in your lunch break. Or if you're a young learner and you're homeschooling, you can pace it as you like, and you can look at making sure that the flexible aspect of it really meets your context and the way you like to learn. So it really is a way of ensuring that you have access to GCSEs and A levels. We have some students studying with us who perhaps their school or college doesn't offer the A level that they'd like to study, and they're doing it alongside. We have learners who are looking for career change and perhaps needing to work full-time or part-time and can't physically attend a college, or geographically it's very difficult for them to attend a college. Or it may be you have additional learning needs and this type of study is more accepting to you and your needs. So we're always there to help. If you've got any questions around studying with us, then please type those in the box, and I will try my best to help you out. Studying online distance learning, sometimes it can be difficult to understand, well, what's that like? Hopefully the video at the beginning showed you a little bit of that. But all our tutors are fully qualified teachers, all have DBS, enhanced DBS, and 80% are examiners as well. So they really understand the specifications, and we put a lot of resource, time and energy in creating really good learning material that's interactive, that has knowledge check quizzes and questions throughout, and you have the opportunity to complete assignments that are mapped to the specification and the final assessment. And you can take those at a time that's suitable for you. So if you want to take a little bit more time to learn, you can do that, or you can carry out your learning very quickly and sit the final exam in the summer. So just highlighting a couple of courses, and I'm sure we'll hear from Green Alliance and Catch 22 that there's no specific route to gaining a career in the green sector. And I'm really interested in hearing about that. But one that might be an obvious choice is something like geography. So we've got an A-level and a GCSE geography, which has a really innovative way of being delivered. We worked with an exam board called OCR to make sure that the fieldwork aspect is accessible to students who are studying at a distance. So you work with our specialist tutors, enabling for you to meet that fieldwork aspect. And it's not just so that you meet the aspect for the exam board, but also so that you gain those skills. Because one of the things we want you to enable you to come out with is the actual applicable skills that you'd need if you were looking to go into that field. So you can see a little bit of examples of course material here. You've got some reading, you've got graphs and charts that you can actually manipulate and look at. And you've also got activities, which are quite simple activities, but really help you check your understanding of the material you've just engaged with. And there's tutor forums, you can communicate with your tutor. We also have a pastoral officer, so if you're struggling to fit your time in, you can have a call with the pastoral officer, perhaps talk about some study skills. And then we hold webinars like this. So if you're thinking about different careers when you're studying with us, you can look at our YouTube channel where we have a number of webinars with different partners, or you can contact our student support team who will put you in contact with National Careers Service and other partners that we work with, so you can explore your way to the career that you are interested in. So that's my little bit done. Obviously, think of any questions you might have regarding National Extension College and studying with us. So as I said, we've got some guests here who have much more knowledge about the environmental sector than me and have an understanding of the sorts of careers that you can move into. So am I passing to Lucy and Jasmine first? Is that correct? Yay, that was good. So I'm going to mute myself now and say hello to Lucy and Jasmine and leave you in their capable hands.
Hi, thanks Esther for that introduction. That was really great. Yes, as Esther briefly introduced us at the beginning, I'm Lucy. I'm a political advisor at Green Alliance, and Jasmine, maybe if I do a quick introduction of what my role is now, and then Jasmine, I'll hand over to you to do a really quick one then. I'm a political advisor, which kind of is what it says on the tin to an extent, is that I sit in the politics team, and we have lots of amazing people at Green Alliance who look at environmental policy in all sorts of areas like farming, nature, things about greenhouse gases, about renewable energy, all sorts of stuff. And they do lots of research, come up with ideas of what they think government and politicians should be doing. And then people with roles like mine think about how can we talk to politicians about those ideas, and how can we most effectively encourage politicians to adopt them and do what we think is good for the planet. So sort of broadly speaking, that's what my role is. Maybe Jasmine would be able to give a little bit of an idea of what she does, which is sort of more on the policy side.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. And thanks for having us here today. So yeah, I'm a policy assistant, which is actually the Green Alliance graduate scheme, which we'll talk about later on. But essentially on the policy side, we do sort of more of the research. So we'll kind of be looking into these issues that Lucy mentioned, giving it as a package to the political team, and then they'll make it nice and appealing for politicians. So for me personally, I work in the resources team. So that means looking at things like waste and plastics and the circular economy, and then creating sort of solutions to some of the problems that the country is facing.
Yeah, and we'll go in now to our presentation and talk about a bit about what Green Alliance actually does, and what it means to be a think tank and stuff. So yeah, who are we? So our website says that we are an independent think tank and charity focused on ambitious leadership for the environment, which is perhaps one of those things that sort of sounds like it's telling you what we do, but actually is maybe full of quite a lot of jargon. And so what that actually means is that we sort of put our heads together and really try and think of good solutions that work for people and the planet. And then we try to persuade government to take those on. So we're not party political, so we're independent, and we work with people from all political parties on these ideas. But we're essentially just sort of taking evidence about what's happening with the environment in all these different areas, and coming up with solutions. So yeah, I guess rather than some organizations work with the environment on the ground, you know, they're like actually on a nature reserve, or they're, you know, at like somewhere that's doing waste and recycling. We're less sort of doing the practical side of it, and we're more sort of doing the thinking that hopefully sits behind all of the practical work. Go on to our next slide.
Yeah, and so the way we kind of structure the organisation is across 5 different themes. So political leadership, that's mostly about sort of working in Parliament and building up support like across all sorts of MPs, like Lucy said, not party political, for the environment, and kind of creating sort of political champions that can, you know, raise the profile of environmental issues in Parliament. And then another theme is low carbon futures, which is essentially, it's quite a broad topic, but this theme works a lot on sort of like renewable energy. They're having upcoming projects to do with like climate and health. It covers quite a big section, a lot on transport in this theme. Then we have natural environment, which you might be more familiar with as a concept, because that's all about sort of green spaces and nature and how to preserve nature as well as sort of hitting net zero. We have resources, which, as I mentioned, I work in, and we sort of look at waste and how to reduce the waste we have by sort of reframing how we consume products around the world. And then we have greening the economy, which is all about how finance and the economy can kind of change to support decarbonisation, and also make sure that groups of people aren't left behind as we transition towards net zero. And then within all of these themes, we do a variety of things, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But so we do policy analysis and research, we run events, we raise the media profile of all these issues, and then we also carry out political engagement, which we'll move on to now. So yeah, this is kind of the first little segment, is the policy analysis, which might look a lot like reports. But there we go, they're back. So these, for example, are a screenshot of some recent reports we've done. So as you can see, the one on the top is about reforming transport taxes, which might sound really boring, but actually it's quite an important issue for government coming up, because not only do we need to encourage sort of public transport and things like that, but actually, for example, a lot of our taxes come from car usage and petrol. But if we're all starting to slowly switch towards electric vehicles, the government's actually going to be left with a bit of a black hole in terms of where they're getting that money from. So this report talks about how we can encourage sustainable transport, but also how we can raise enough money that the government's not kind of left in a bit of a deficit. Then we have a report called Green Expectations there that was about natural environment, and it was about how communities can engage more in sort of green spaces. And the last one, that I think the title's a bit small, but it's our net zero policy tracker, which is essentially looking at all of the things government have said they're going to do to reach net zero, and kind of putting our analysis on it and saying, oh, is this actually going to achieve it? Or, you know, is there still more to be done? So that's an example of some policy analysis. And to do these, we also have some events. So we might like launch a report through an event. So hopefully some nice pictures will pop up if you click again, Lucy. Yeah, there we go. So we do events for a number of reasons, but one of them is sometimes for example, we might have a report with a lot of research, and then we try and sort of get the message out there by running these big events. But I don't know if Lucy wants to talk a bit more on convening and the other role of events as well. I think you're on mute, Lucy.
Sorry, I have too many tabs happening. Yes, as Jasmine said, sometimes we are having events so that we can launch a report that we've done. But sometimes we host political speakers. So you can see here we've got Ed Miliband and Sadiq Khan, who've recently spoken at things like us, events that we've been running. So that might be that we want to give them a platform to announce some new environmental policy, or perhaps we want to question them about their environmental policies and sort of give a space for people that we work with to ask questions. And one thing that we do as well is we have a big role in kind of convening the environmental sector, which again, a bit of a fancy way of saying that essentially we bring together the huge number of organisations that work on nature, environment, climate. We try and bring them together to work effectively together so that we're not all shouting about different things when we're talking to politicians and the media. So that it all sort of gels together nicely and we're working together constructively rather than accidentally kind of working against each other. Another thing that we do, which I guess in a way often has a bit of a convening the sector role, and something that I work on a lot, is the Environment APPG. So an APPG is an all-party parliamentary group. And these are kind of groups which sit within Parliament. They are cross-party, so they have to have people from all of the different political groups represented in Westminster. They don't have any actual power to make policy or anything. They're kind of like pressure groups. They can cover all sorts of topics. There's literally probably an APPG for absolutely every subject you could ever think of. But we kind of run the secretariat, we sort of run the administrative side of the environment one. And through that, we get to hold some really cool events. So last week, I got to go up a wind turbine on a site visit that we did with some MPs. And here you can see a photo from our APPG awards at our Christmas event that we had, where we gave an award to Alok Sharma, who was obviously the COP26 sort of person who was leading that politically. And that's a really good platform for us to both talk about Green Alliance's work, but also to sort of talk more broadly about environmental politics and issues that we care about. And then some of the other stuff that we do is we use social media as a sort of platform for our comms. So you can see here, there's one where we were talking about Energy Security Day, which happened recently. And we were kind of using social media as a place that we could respond to that really quickly and get across our quick points of what our reaction to it was. And it's a good way to kind of get messages out both to the public and within the sector, and a way to do that really quickly. That often gets picked up by the media, perhaps from there as well. So it's an interesting tool for us to use. And we mainly use Twitter, but also LinkedIn a bit as well. And then I think Jasmine's going to talk about some of the work that we do sort of around podcasts and blogs.
Yeah, so we also have a Green Alliance podcast and a blog, and we'll try and share the link. But basically, this is a space to kind of do some more concise summaries of some of the work we've been doing. So, not everyone understandably is going to have time to read a report or might not be interested in all of them, but we also invite guest speakers and things on the podcast and blogs to try and broaden the range of voices we can listen to as well. So yeah, if anyone's ever interested in sort of listening to a 20-minute talk on something, then check out our page. You just have to Google Green Alliance podcast and it will come up, and the blog's called Inside Track as well. But yeah, you can kind of have a browse across all the themes, and we've tried to do episodes and blog pieces on a variety of topics. So hopefully there'll be something of interest to those of you watching. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist of what we do across the organisation. There's probably so much more which we forget to say because there's always so much happening. But yeah, the next thing is the graduate scheme. So I think, yeah, if you just can play the video about what our graduate scheme is, which is what I'm on at the moment. It's hopefully I'm not talking over. I think there might be some issues with the sound, but you can see from this video, hopefully be able to read some of the subtitles, that we've had a few grads over the years. So we normally take in sort of 4 a year. And the idea is to kind of get a sense of how it works across the organisation. So I'm one of 4 in our cohort, and the other 3 all work across different themes as well. And it's a really good opportunity to kind of have a first entry level look into the sector. And it might seem a way off for now because unfortunately you still do have to have either a university degree or kind of equivalent work experience before applying, but it's something to bear in mind for the future or keep an eye out for, because I've certainly found it really, really useful in terms of getting a sense of what else is out there in the environmental world, because I didn't personally know anyone who worked even in the charity sector or sort of for environmental organisations. So working at Green Alliance has given me a really good idea on what all these organisations are, and I've kind of got to do some of the thinking behind the policy work, which I found really interesting, because I never thought I'd be in a position where, I might be able to be contributing to a report that then might go into, Parliament and be discussed and whatever. And it feels quite impactful, and it's kind of crazy to think, oh, I'm just fresh out of doing geography, so what do I know? But it's been really good. And aside from the graduate scheme as well, there are also other avenues into the organisation. As we mentioned, Green Alliance has a huge sort of comms side with all the events and social media. You might be more creative, you might not want to be sort of knee deep in numbers talking about tax, but you might really like, creating engaging Twitter posts or organising events. So there's definitely lots of ways in, but hopefully the graduate scheme might be one that sort of opens up one avenue.
That's fabulous, Jasmine and Lucy. Thank you so much. Is that the end of your presentation?
I think I was just going to briefly say, I can do this slide super quickly.
No, that's fine. I was trying to do a nice segue, but please do. Lovely to hear about the sector. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to say that we're one organisation within what, as I sort of mentioned before, is an absolutely huge sector. There are so many organisations that work on the environment and green issues in general. They include lots of places that you might have heard of, like the RSPB, Greenpeace, WWF, but maybe ones you wouldn't have thought of that work on the environment. So like the National Union of Students, people like that will have a really strong sort of environmental theme, and more businesses are hiring people to work on environmental and sustainability issues. And obviously there's also opportunities to work sort of even more closely with government. The civil service has lots of green jobs in it, if that's something that you might fancy. And you can do practical things, a bit different to what me and Jasmine do, or you can do the kind of more desk theoretical work that we're doing, working more politically. But yes, I think that's everything from us, Esther.
Lovely, thank you so much. Really, really interesting. I've not sort of understood before, perhaps, how much the Green Alliance does. And the graduate scheme sounds really exciting, Jasmine. How long is it? Is it a 1 or 2 year scheme?
It's just a year.
Yeah, brilliant. No, so as you said, real exposure to this sector, and how amazing, yes, just to be out of university, then having an impact on policy that's affecting, millions of people's lives. So that's really exciting. Thank you. So you're going to stick around to see if there's any questions at the end. So I'm really pleased to now invite Amanda. I'm going to be multitasking and getting Amanda's presentation up. So Amanda, while I'm doing that, are you happy to just introduce yourself a little bit?
Certainly. Hi, everybody. First of all, thanks to the NEC for inviting me onto this. I am a programme manager for the employability division within Catch-22. My very small contract is called Green Spark, and it is focused on getting people into jobs, fitting solar panels, fitting electric vehicle installation charging points. And we've been very blessed to be given a bursary by City and Guilds. So everything that I'm pushing towards is towards the green energy sector. A little bit about Catch. We are a charity and a social business. We design and deliver services that build resilience and aspiration in people and communities. We support 160,000 people a year facing social disadvantage barriers, and they can be from coming from care, coming from the army. They could have been exposed to violence. They could have just had a multitude of things that have happened in their life, and we're there to support them. Our vision and our approach, which you can ask anybody in Catch 22, is the 3 Ps. We believe that people can thrive when they have good people around them, a purpose, and a good place to live. Next slide, please. So there's 3 main areas of work within Catch 22, employability and skills, which I'm a very small part of. We have young people, families and communities, and we have the justice and education departments. I'm going to move on to the next slide, Esther, because obviously I'm mindful of time as well. This is just 4 of the programs that we run. We have our Social Switch program, which supports young people exposed to violence and gangs. We have the TikTok Academy and the Digital Edge, sponsored by Microsoft and TikTok. They support people into media roles, digital marketing roles, and then of course I had to advertise Green Spark. I support people into work that have a passion for sustainability and the environment. Next slide, please. So the thing that I want to address is the skills gap. We've talked about the academic side of things, geography, 100%. I'm going to throw biology and maths onto that one as well as really good subjects for you guys to study in terms of the environment. But the skills gap that I'd like to address is transferable skills. So if we could go to the next slide, thank you. Among business leaders, I think the statistic is about 67%. There's a skills gap, which is going to cause some problems in the green energy sector. I'm inclined to disagree on a certain level. We have apprenticeships, we have degrees, we have industry-related courses that are available to people. The problem is people think they're excluded before they start. So there is a little bit of a discussion about that later on. But the main thing I'd like to look at is transferable skills, because that is a platform into literally any career. So the top 8 skills you need in terms of transferable skills, and every single person I guarantee that is listening to this today has them. Problem solving, analytical reasoning and critical thinking. They're all kind of from the same song sheet. We've all got those skills. We problem solve every time we decide which pair of shoes we're going to wear that day. We all use analytical reasoning when we're deciding whether we're going to buy a Bisto, which costs a fortune at the moment, can I just say, or if we're going to be buying Asda. We're using those critical thinking and analysing skills all the time. Leadership skills. If you're a parent, you've instantly got leadership skills, so do bear that in mind. Adaptability. Before the pandemic, I used to find it quite difficult to describe adaptability. Now, having all been through that and lived through that, there's not a person on planet Earth that isn't adaptable. We proved it. And as humans, we are continuously adapting. Look at the green energy sector. Teamwork. We've all been involved in teamwork. Unless you've worked in a lighthouse, you've pretty much been exposed to working with other people. We've got fantastic communication skills, whether we're using our written skills, listening skills, or our body language. Give me a call. We are communicators by nature, and our creativity, our individual creativity, is just the most amazing transferable skill you can take into any job. Those are the top 8, and I guarantee you've got them all. So if we look at one title with multiple skills, if you've worked in or have been a parent working with children and childcare, you have attention to detail, you have leadership skills, you have communication skills, fact-finding skills. Depending on how many children you're looking after, you've been a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, you've been a driver, you've been a referee, especially if you've got more than 3 children. If you've been in sports, if you've taught sports, if you've been involved in team sports, teamwork, strategy, resilience, adaptability, confidence, all transferable skills. If you're fresh out of study, research, admin, IT, analytical, time management, our graduate can probably nod along and think, actually, yes, I've done a lot of research, I've done a lot of admin, I've done a lot of IT. These are all transferable skills. If you're a gamer, organisational skills, time management, strategy, team playing, hobbies, parenting, work experience, teacher skills we might not necessarily consider for the workplace. What you do in your spare time could be a really valuable skill, and transferable skills, whether you're working in the green energy sector or any other employability sector, you need to hold on to those skills and think, actually, I can do this, this, and this. Next slide, please. So job titles, this is where the problem I'm finding in the green energy sector lay. There are some wonderful jobs out there that we've been doing through time immemorial, but because they're changing the titles and they're adding that environmental slide to it, they're adding the environmental bits and pieces, people suddenly think, oh, I'm not really qualified for that. But you are. An environmental auditor, all they've done is add the word environmental. You're still an auditor. You've still got attention to detail. You're still superb with spreadsheets. You're still superb with data analysis. A farm secretary is administrator, a PA. They've just added the word farm, and suddenly you think, oh, there's animals involved. I can't do that. Yes, you can. An environmental project lead is a project manager, a supervisor. Whether you've worked in green energy or transport or retail, if you've got those baseline experiences, you can move that into the green energy sector. A sustainability coordinator is a team leader. A solar panel marketing executive is sales. When you look at some of the crazy job titles that are out there, there's one for a clothing curator, that's working in retail, a herder of canines, dog walker, and a food mixologist is a chef. So when you look at job titles, don't be dissuaded and think that's not me, because a principal acquisition director is a buyer, a garbage and environmental cleansing agent is a rubbish collector, and this is my favourite because I used to be one, a passenger logistics transference engineer is a bus driver. So when you're looking at job titles, make sure you read the descriptions, because I guarantee your skill set will be in there somewhere. And always, always remember that if you are 100% qualified for a job, you've hit your ceiling before you've even walked through the door. So if you've got at least 40 to 60% of the skill set just from your transferable skills, apply. Next slide, please. So the green energy sector has been overcomplicated to an extent, although when they were talking that they went for a tour of a wind turbine, my green envy suddenly boiled over. It was, oh, wow. Because what we do when we think about green energy, we immediately think wind turbines, solar panels and hydro plants. We forget that it's about being carbon neutral. It's about net zero. It's about waste and recycling management. It's about thoughtful administration. Do I need to print that email off? It's about biodiesel vehicles. It's about electric cars, working from home, using carbon neutral hotels and flying from carbon neutral airports. Have a look at what Gatwick are doing at the moment. It is absolutely stunning. It's teaching your friends and family to switch off plugs. It's education, training, admin, payroll, marketing, social media, using environmentally friendly cleaning products in your office. Green is everywhere. You just need to think about it. And green energy careers are only limited if you let it stay limited. Next slide, please. So 3 points I'd like you to remember. Green jobs are everywhere. From your wind turbine engineer, you're going to need degrees, you're going to need apprenticeships, etc. But a librarian is now classed as a green job. Read company policies, do your company research and see who's driving that net zero and carbon neutral agenda. Green jobs are everywhere. Your transferable skills can lead you to roles that you might not have considered. And yes, in some cases, you might have to start in an entry-level position, but look where you can go. The only restriction you have is you. So just make sure for every job that you apply for, every job that you look at, you see the best of you as you're applying for it. Communication, empathy, kindness, good organisation, time management, honesty, reliability, whatever you've got, all of these skills you have. So utilise them and maximise them. Can I have the next slide? Thank you. What I personally want you to take away from this is a belief and confidence that you are already making a difference in your daily life. So you're going to be able to make it in your working life. You know so much already, and you should be proud of whatever achievements you have to this point. From about 1760, we were at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. We went from hand to machine, candle to lamp, horse to car, and it was a really exciting time for industry and for social change. 132 years, Catch 22 have been part of that social change, so we've been here for a long time. And here we are again. We're in this revolution now to undo some of the things that were done in the past. We couldn't have possibly predicted what fossil fuels would do to our atmosphere. We didn't have the scientific know-how. It was only from sort of 1940 up to about 1980 that we really realised what was going on. But we still need to support those ideas from those fantastic inventions from those days. A water wheel is now our hydro plant. A wind turbine used to be a windmill. So we need to learn from history in order to sustain our future. You are part of that future. You are part of making history for the Green Revolution. And if you look at your career, if you look at where you want to go, you are going to be securing everybody's future from the decisions that you make today. So the final slide is just something I want everybody to remember: sparking change for a greener today. We've got to remember to make the changes today. Yes, we need to look at our future, but you need to start today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Amanda. That's lovely. And you can really hear your passion coming across for not only the green environment, the green aspect, but also it really came across around, you see careers as being for everybody. There's no sort of shut doors. There's no area that you can't move into if you just look at the skills you already have, and you can build on those as a foundation. So that's a really, really sort of powerful message, and I think will resonate with a number of our students and our listeners. So we've got about 10 minutes for Q&A. So as Alice chats to those who are listening, we may have a very shy audience. It sometimes happens. But I will start off with a couple of questions, if that's okay to you all. When we talk about the green economy, are there any areas in particular around the green economy that you see are becoming very popular for people to move into? Any jobs or roles? And does that align with also where policy and money being invested is moving as well? So sometimes the most popular jobs aren't necessarily the ones that people are investing in. So that's probably for all of you, but whoever wants to sort of have a go at answering that first.
I mean, I can start off if you want.
Thanks, Lucy.
I guess things like renewable energies are one of the ones where there's clearly like a huge number of jobs, and they are actually like desperate for people to work there. Like people who have the right skills, they're like desperate for people who have the right skill set, even if not in like the right area. Like maybe you do something engineering related, but it's not currently green, and you might they really want people to move over to that kind of thing. And I feel like there's probably investment and money, or there definitely is a lot of that going in that direction because it's so clearly the future. I suppose there's maybe other things that people don't think about, which are really, really needed, is like some of the nature skills. So things like teaching people to lay hedges, I've heard used as an example of like a skill that's being forgotten, but which is incredibly necessary. And like farmers are green job. If you farm in a nature friendly way, that's a green job, and is obviously it's something that can be quite difficult for people to get into, but which is a really valuable thing that we obviously need to happen.
Interesting. Thank you, Lucy. Anyone else want to add to that, Amanda?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is that overcomplication, and the more we can say to people, well, actually, this is available to you. I mean, you could argue, if you wanted to, that somebody who delivers the Royal Mail, because they don't use a van, because they use a recyclable sack, and because they're on foot, that could be classed as a green job. Bus drivers driving electric vehicles. I was out the other day on a bus and I saw that DPD had a van that was 100% electric. So even parcel delivery is now a green job. If you drive a lorry for McDonald's, most of their lorries are biofuels. It's a green job. So I think we need to be clever in our thinking. We can't allow greenwashing. That's one thing we cannot allow. But I do believe that there are a lot more jobs out there that can be classed as green simply because they're moving towards this way of thinking. So for me, I think the door is open for everybody.
That's
I
great.
really do.
Thank you, Amanda. And I suppose because it's such a dynamic sector and we're in such a dynamic part of our history, I think, with things changing and developing so quickly, it is that focus on transferable skills and people understanding those core skills that they can then transfer into any area. And that aspect of lifelong learning, which we really champion, obviously, as an organisation who supports people to change career or to study for enjoyment or to study to better their sort of route. From a perspective of the UK economy, and again, this is a policy one, but segues into a careers and development area. We hear a lot around the UK current government, and I'm sure that will progress into the next government if that is the case, that the UK is looking to be a world leader and have a real strong voice in the green economy. How do you feel that sort of moving forward, and what does that mean for the person on the street, as it were? So if we're a world leader and have a very strong voice in this sector, what does somebody who sat listening to this webinar, what would that mean to them?
I can give it a go. I think one thing that's actually quite interesting about the UK in particular is, for example, we talk about circular economy a bit with the green economy as well, and sort of reframing how we consume things and make things. And at the moment, we import a lot of goods and stuff from abroad. But actually, if we switch to a green economy, a circular economy, where we were recycling things in the country and also repairing and using things for longer, we're actually creating a lot more jobs like onshore. So I think to someone sort of on the street thinking about green economy, it could mean really simple things like, you know, when you go to the supermarket, you can like take your bottles and put them back in and get like money back, or it could mean that you can go to more like repair hubs, but you kind of have a bit more of local economic activity too in terms of reselling your own items. And that's just a specific area because obviously I work in resources, so I can't really speak for everything, but I think it's something that makes the UK different as well to let's say other places that are already a bit more they're already a bit stronger domestically, like they have a lot more manufacturing already domestically, whereas the UK, we've kind of lost a bit of that. So we might be getting some back.
So there's an opportunity there for the UK from a circular economy perspective. Yeah, great. Thank you, Jasmine. Anything to add to that, Amanda or Lucy?
To be honest, I think with wind energy, I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest ways forward. We're an island, for goodness sake. We are surrounded by wind and water. We have this amazing resource that we're not tapping into nearly enough. But the most amazing thing I heard is that at the beginning of the year, I believe wind energy outstripped fossil fuels for the first time in a very, very long time. We are going in the right direction. So I think what Jasmine says, you know, if we are more mindful about the things that we do and having that local option to, rather than go and buy a brand new computer at Curry's, for example, we can take it to a chap who's down the road or a lady who's across the street. Can you fix that, please? Not only are we saving money, we're saving the economy, we're just saving. And I think that's the word that everybody needs. Saving is the word that we need to kind of really drill down to. But I think what Yasmin said was superb. Couldn't agree more.
Thank you. And just to bring it back to learning, obviously, Amanda, you did a very strong sort of position around learning being not just subject expertise, but also about skills and skills development. I'm just interested in Jasmine, really, being a graduate. Was there anything that surprised you when you moved from the world of academia to the world of work, and any reflection on looking back to think whether there was something you could have done to help with that transition?
Yeah, I was quite excited to leave academia, to be honest, because I always found it very long. So what kind of surprised me but also excited me in a good way was being able to sort of put all the things you worked to use and seeing them sort of in action, because it felt like in academia you were very much like, you know, researching something or creating a really long essay, and then it's like, okay, I don't know if anyone's going to read that, or if I don't know, you know, if these things are ever going to see the light of day. So it's been really nice to sort of be at Green Alliance and kind of see how things are taken and either put on, like we said, in the media or with politicians or whatever else. And anything to prepare me, I think I would say actually, so after my degree, I took a year out actually, and I did various things, went traveling, volunteering, but I actually think that was really good just in terms of the life experience, and also to have the decompression time a bit, if you can, between all these different things. And yeah, I think there's so much value in sort of meeting a range of people, and you just learn. I think I always learn so much from like every new person that I meet. So I think that sort of exposure really helped me in terms of being a bit more confident in this job and in general. So yeah, I would just recommend basically doing anything that interests you. You're probably going to learn from it. But
that's great. Yeah. So it's being open to learn from any interaction you have and every day. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amanda from Catch 22, Jasmine and Lucy from Green Alliance. So it's been really interesting to hear about your organisations and your thinking on the future. I'm sure you've inspired a number of people who are listening and watching this. It will be available on our YouTube channel, and we also send out to any prospective students who show an interest in subjects that might sort of link to this area, but taking note with Amanda as well that it's any subject, any role you can move into a green career. And also, if you're not looking to change career, I think there was a really important message there from you all around what you can do yourself personally in your own life. So thank you very much. I've really enjoyed the discussion, and hopefully we'll have another one perhaps in a year's time where we see where things have progressed. Thank you, everybody.